Hello, my friend. How are you doing? What I'd like to show you now really quickly is how once you have developed your survey, how you can transfer that survey into SPSS and prepare the variable view sheet so that you can run all of your tests. Yeah, and that's something that my students ask me quite a lot, which is, okay, I've done my survey, but how in the world do I get my data? Do I get my questions and I transfer that to SPSS? There are two main ways in which you can do that. One is to just directly import it. The problem when you do that is that there's a lot of incongruences. So very commonly when you do the direct import, it doesn't really fit, or you don't understand the labeling of the questions, and it gets quite confusing. So what I'd like to show you now is what I normally do, which is to do this transfer manually. Okay, it takes a little bit of time, but it's a really important stage. And once you do that and you prepare your variable view sheets accurately, then it makes your life really easy. Okay, so I'd like to take you step by step on how you can do that. So what I have here is one SPSS sheet, a blank sheet, so starting from scratch. And what I have here on the other side is a questionnaire that I used for a study a while ago, looking into consumption of vinyl and also streaming music services. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is understand what type of question that you have. Okay. So what I have here is a multiple choice question in which the respondents can only choose one option, and that's really important. So if you have a multiple choice question, it's important that you have a look in your questionnaire if respondents could ask more than one option or only one option. In this case here, I have a multiple choice question in which the respondents can only choose one option. And the question is, which music medium best describes your relationship with music? And the options: music streaming, vinyl, and other. So let's create a variable for that. So I have here SPSS. If you watched a previous video on the introduction to the software, you will know that the software has sort of two sides. One side is the data view, where I have here in the bottom. That's where you insert your data, your numerical data, the values. The other side, if you click here in the bottom, is the variable view. That's where you prepare all of your questions. Okay, so I'm going to click here on variable view and go to the other side. All right, so the question that I have is a multiple choice in which the respondents can only choose one option. So for this, I only need one variable. And what I'm going to include here is a coding that I understand. So when you're creating your questionnaire, just make sure that you have a coding that you understand. So I'm going to type here Q1 so I can know that it's question number 1. And I'm going to type here underline because SPSS has an issue here on the variable view, which is it doesn't allow spaces between words. So I'm going to put here Q underline, Q1 underline. And then I'm going to add here a coding that I understand what the question refers to. So if the question is which music medium best describes my relationship with music, I'm going to type here, for example, Q1 underline medium underline relationship, so that I know that that's a question about medium and about relationship. Okay. The type, we can leave it as it is, the width decimals as well. The label is the actual question. So here you can just copy and paste. I'll type it here. So which music medium best describes your relationship with music? Question mark. All right, so I inserted my label and then I have now my values. Now the values, once I download the questionnaire, the order in which I have my answers, those are the values that I'm going to have. So if I have here music streaming services, when I download the Excel sheet with the raw data, most likely this is going to be coded as a 1. So what I'm going to tell my values here, yeah, I'm clicking here on values. Here I have this table is going to pop up when I click here under values. And SPSS wants to know, okay, which value refers to what answer. So if the first option here is music streaming, this is going to be the value of a 1. So I'm going to type here 1, and the label is the actual option. So the option is music streaming service. and then I'm gonna click on add. The second option is vinyl records. So if this is the second option, this is gonna be the value of 2. So it's a value of 2. The label is vinyl. Yeah, gonna add. The value of 3. The label is other. I'm gonna type here other, and I'm going to add. Then I'm gonna click on OK. So I have here the variable name, which is Q1 because it's question number 1, underline medium, underline relationship. So it gives me an indication of what the question refers to so that I can remember easily. I have here the label with the actual question. I have here the values for all of the options. And the last main important thing here is to click on measure. Yeah. And that's when you tell the software which type of data that is. If it's interval data, that's always the option of scale, or if you have ordinal data, or if you have nominal data. If you are unsure which type of data your question has, multiple choice questions where you need to choose one option, they're always nominal data. When you have a scale of frequency like from never to very often, fully disagree to fully agree, those are interval scales. They're gonna be scales. And when you have orders, you're gonna have ordinal data. In this case, it's a multiple choice. I'm gonna label here as nominal so that the software can know which type of data that is. Okay, so for question number 1, I'm done. That's all I needed to do. All right, so I'm just gonna click on whatever here to move forward with it. Just gonna say here, final, click on next to move on forward. All right, now I have the second question here, which is, how many vinyl records do you own? All right, so I'm gonna go back to SPSS. That is question number 2. So I'm gonna type in here Q2 and underline, I don't know, how many underline vinyl. Yeah, so I know that that refers to question number 2, and the question is more or less about how many vinyls I have. Gonna leave here type with decimals. Gonna put here my label. How many vinyl records do you own? Question mark. Oops. The same thing here for the values. So I'm gonna click here on values. The first option that I have on my questionnaire is less than 10 albums. So the value of 1, the label is gonna be less than 10 albums. Gonna click on add. Value number 2, I'm gonna put here the label 10 to 20 albums. Gonna click on add, and of course I would continue going on and adding all of my other options. Okay, gonna click on OK. Again, this is a nominal data, so because it's multiple choice, and I'm gonna click here on nominal. Now it's really important to mention something. This is a multiple choice question where I can only choose one option, because as a buyer I either have 10 to 20 records or I have 20 to 30. I cannot have more than one option here. And then you might say, well, what if it was a multiple choice where I could have more than one option? For example, if this question was, what is your favorite music style? And I would say rock, folk, classical. This is the type of music that I like. If this was the case, if respondents could click here on more than one option, I would need to create here a variable for each option that the respondents could click on. So I would need to have here Q2 underline rock, Q2 underline classical, Q2 underline in the order in which I have it. Do you understand what I mean? I'm gonna say this again because maybe it's confusing. I'm only having one variable for this question because this is a multiple choice in which respondents could only click on one option, just like the question number 1. If this was a multiple choice in which respondents could click on more than one option, I would need to create a variable for each individual option. So I would have Q2 underline whatever the first option was, Q2 underline whatever the second option was, and so on. Okay? All right, now let's go to Q3 because Q3 has a different format. On Q3, the question is about music involvement. This is a scale of involvement. So it's about music involvement, rate, to which extent you agree with the following statements. And you have here 4 options, so there are 4 items on this scale, and all of them are ranging from fully disagree to fully agree. So this is not a nominal, this is not a multiple choice, but this is a matrix question. So I need to frame it differently on SPSS. All right. So this is question number 3. So I'm going to label as Q3 underline. All of these 4 items are related to the measurement of music involvement. So I can just say here Q3 underline involvement, and then underline 1, because I know this is the first item of the scale of involvement. And then I need to create 1 for each individual one. So I'm going to put Q3 underline involvement underline 2 for the second item, and then Q3 underline involvement underline 3 for the third item, Q3 underline involvement underline 4 for the fourth item of that scale. Okay. For the label, I can just type in here music involvement, because scale, so that I know that that refers to the scale. And once I type it here once, I can simply right click, copy, and then select the other ones, right click, paste, and then I paste in all of them. Okay. The scale that I have here on top, from fully disagree to fully agree, again, it's in the order. Fully disagree is going to be the value of 1, disagree is going to be the value of 2, neither agree or disagree is going to be the value of 3, agree the value of 4, and fully agree the value of 5. So I only need to do this once, because afterwards I can copy and paste as I showed you. So on the values here, I'm going to click on the value of 1 is fully disagree. I'm going to click on add. 2 is a disagree, and add 3. I'm just going to type here indifferent, and add 4 for agree, and add 5 for fully agree, and add, click on OK. If I select here, right click, or just copy, and if I paste, oops, not working, but I can also edit here, copy. I believe that this is going to work. If I go ahead and edit and paste, and there you go, I pasted all of these options here. And of course that all of these are scale, so I need to click here on the option for scale, and so on. Okay, so on a nutshell, this is how you're going to do. You need to understand, you need to create a coding here in the first one that you understand. So I suggest you create a coding, always starting with the question number, so Q1, and then underline something that gives you an idea of what the question is. When you have a multiple choice in which respondents only choose one option, you only need to create one variable. When you have a multiple choice where the respondent can click on more than one option, once you download the data, you're going to have a column for each option. So you need to create here a variable for each individual option for that multiple choice. When you have a matrix question like I had the one here, you need to create also a variable for each individual one. I suggest you labeling it. I suggest you putting on the values and telling which measure that is. Once you do that, and let's say you do this for your entire questionnaire, and you do this for your entire questionnaire, if you click here on the bottom on data view, see how all of the variables that I created here on top, right? And then once you download the numerical sheet from whichever website you use for your study, SurveyMonkey, Quick Surveys, whichever one that you use, once you have your numerical sheet, and then you're gonna copy the data from that Excel sheet and you paste in here, it should paste perfectly from the beginning to all the end of your questionnaire. If it doesn't paste perfectly, that means that you skipped one question or another, one option or another. But if you follow this step, again, just quickly summarizing so you don't get lost. If you go through these steps, multiple choice, um, multiple choice questions, if you can only click on one, only one variable, for example, gender, right? You only click in male or female, so that's only one variable. If you have age, where you have your brackets 18 to 24, 25 to 26, you can only click on one, so you only need one variable. But if you have questions that you need more than one, you can click on one more than one option on a multiple choice, like what is your preferred style of music, or which brands of running clothes do you have currently at home, Nike, Puma. You can click on more than one. So then you need to create here one variable, one variable per option. And if you have matrices where you have all of these options, like question here number 3, then you need to create also one for each individual option. Okay, so if you just go through this step by step, and then you copy your data, paste here on the data view. Yeah, data view is only for numbers, only for your actual numerical data. It should paste perfect from the beginning to the end. If it doesn't, go back to your questionnaire because you skipped one option or another. All right. So on a nutshell, this is how you do manually preparing, transferring your questionnaire into SPSS, and then inserting your data, and then you can run all of your tests. All right. And my musical recommendation for this time, I would recommend you to listen to a beautiful song by the Beatles called She's Leaving Home. That's from an album called Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the most experimental record from the Beatles, and one of the most beautiful songs with a lot of orchestration. You're gonna love it. She's Leaving Home by the Beatles. Yeah? So I hope you listen to that while you're doing your work, running your stats, and I'm sure you're gonna have an awesome project. All the absolute best. Take care, and bye bye.